This is Leah Bai again. Today we are here to talk about difficult words. A friend of mine is very impressed with my first book, Lamps. English is his second language. He asked me to share with him the do's and don'ts of writing my first book. I said, don't write words that you can't pronounce in your book. Why? Because I wrote many difficult words in my book. Later on, I found out I couldn't say them correctly when I was producing my audiobook. Let me share with you how I deal with those difficult words with the help from my coach, Phyllis. Phyllis, how are you?
Great.
Well, today we're going to talk about difficult and challenging words. And a lot of those words are related to people's name and sounds that are missing in my native tongue, or simply because a lack of idea, I say something wrong. So I have several examples. The first one is the quote in my book from page 22. Let me read that to you and you help me. Okay. The accent of one's birthplace remains in the mind and in the heart as in one speech, by François de la Rochefoucauld.
Okay. This is the first thing. Anytime you see an OIS, it becomes a WA.
Okay.
So that's Francois.
Francois.
Yeah, Francois. So anytime the French word, you see that OIS, then that is wa.
Francois.
No, France, SWA, Francois.
Francois.
If you can say, like the watch, a swatch, you can say Francois.
Francois.
There you go.
Francois.
Then Della is easy.
Della. Francois Della.
Yeah, Della, Francois Della. A CH in French is an SH in English. So then you usually the first syllable and the last syllable, if they're in three or more syllables, are the most higher, that have the higher tones. So you say Francois de la Rocha. So you say every syllable said Rochefoucauld.
Rochefoucauld.
Rocha.
Rochefoucauld. Rochefoucauld.
Yeah. And it with the French, that AULD, depending upon what area in France they're saying it, the L is less pronounced. So it's Rochefoucauld.
Rochefoucauld.
And you may have a true Frenchman zero in that you didn't say that, like could. We say could is spelled COULD, right? We don't say that L. Okay. However, if we want to say, the past tense of call, say CALLED, we say that L. We called, L to a D. Okay. But you can possibly get away, unless you're speaking with a French person, by saying Rochefoucauld.
Rochefoucauld.
Yeah, Rochefoucauld. So CH's are SH.
Rochefoucauld.
Okay.
François
and again,
de la
this is highlight it and then do a text to speech. Highlight it on your computer. There's a function in everybody's word, processing that lets you do a text to speech, and you will actually hear it said.
Yeah, I have that function. I use a lot for some words which I wasn't sure. And of course, it's a robot sound, right? But at least they get you right. And 90% of the time. But for this name, that's tough. Without you explain to me and slow down, even I search on the internet how to pronounce that, I still cannot get that right. And
okay.
Okay, let's move to the second example. Okay. This one I shouldn't have a difficult to pronounce that because they're quoted by a Chinese philosopher, Confucius. Here we go. Okay. I highlighted the word, you helped me before and which I was struggling with. Some looks like a simple word, but somehow it was a difficult word to me.
Right.
The will to win, the desire to succeed, the urge to reach your full potential. These are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence by Confucius.
Uh-huh.
Back to you, Phyllis.
What is happening here is, again, this is a muscle motor change. This is moving from one movement. So a with, okay, so that is sound, the tongue is moving back in the mouth for that sound. To go into an L, those are front tongue tip sounds. So what happens is to say the W-I-L-L, you have to go from a I, and then sliding into, to get to those L's, you have to go, that I turns into a will. Oh.
Will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Will.
Instead of just will, it's will, it's almost like W-I-A-L-L. Will.
Will.
There you go.
Will.
And the tongue slides through that very quickly. Will.
Will.
To get to that L. The same thing happens with, now the sound is more made with the tongue moved forward. However, there is, because it sits lower, the tongue sits lower, you have to lift your tongue to say the L sound. So what happens, it'll go through a slight sound as well. So full.
Full.
Yeah. And lift, understanding it will move into that yeah. And remembering to lift the tongue.
Cool.
Will.
I cannot control that.
And will, and then finish with the L, the tongue tip touching the top, kind of behind your teeth. Will.
Will. Okay. Will. What's the difference between W-I-L-L and the W-E-L-L? Pronunciation wise?
The I is farther back in the mouth, but the the tongue, if you, again, go to University of Iowa, Sounds of Speech, and watch the video for the sound. And you will see that the tongue it has different positions. For the sound, you'll see the tongue hump in the middle. For the sound, you'll see it hump at the back.
I see.
So that's the difference between will and well.
Will and well. Okay. Will and will. Okay. And F-U-L-L means and F-O-O-L. That's also a confusing two words together, the pronunciation. Full and full.
Full is short. Full,
okay.
Because it's two O's, it's longer duration. Full.
Okay. Full.
Yeah.
April Fool Day, right? Okay. Full.
April Fool's. There's a Z on the end of that. April Fool's Day.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah. So in other words, there's a lot of fools out there. A lot of games, a lot of fun. Get fools games to play.
Yes. Okay, let me try this one more time. Okay, I think I can handle this. The will to win, the desire to succeed, the urge to reach your full potential. These are the keys that will unlock the door to personal excellence by Confucius.
Beautifully done.
Thank you. If I go back to review my audiobook files, I probably will feel, oh my gosh, I didn't do that right. Because the one of the scary thing is once you publish that book on iTunes and Audible, the reader or listeners might give you a bad review. So around the world, that's the part scaring me.
And remember that this is a learning experience. And when people criticize, say thank you. Simply say thank you. I'll remember that.
Yeah. Good.
What
That's a good attitude.
it's a human tendency to want to pick out things that are wrong. And then no matter what culture we come from, I had, whenever I was trying to speak Mandarin, they let me know every piece I'd said wrong.
Oh my gosh.
And at least some people did. In Toastmasters, they didn't. When I was speaking on the street, they'd say, ah, 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 and then they'd say it for me, and I'd want me to say it again. They'd give me 3 tries, and then they'd just give it to me.
Okay. This example in front of us on page 22 is an easier one because I have no issue technically to pronounce that word. It just, I wasn't aware I said that wrong until you point out to me. So let me just read that for the audience. I grew up in Chengdu, the capital city of Sichuan province in southern China. And before I said the southern China, just by looking at the sun, right? So this kind of the details, and nobody will really can tell you, you said something wrong until we drill, what we did, like you and I did, go through my book page by page and word by word. Southern, not southern, right?
Yes. It really is not, it's southern sound. It's not even south. It's just an sound. So it's southern.
Southern, yeah.
Yeah. And that way it simplifies it. Again, this is English. It's a mutt language. It's a combination of so many other pronunciation systems as well as words and spellings. It's awful. And yet it's the language we speak, and we'll learn it little by little as we go.
I know. How can we, ESL speakers pick up those kind of exceptional, different pronunciation like a southern? Because I've been saying that word southern for 20 years, and until you told me, hey, Leah should be southern.
S-U-T-H, southern.
Yeah.
It is in listening to, again, text to speech. Yet when we're younger, we will hear those nuances. And if it's like me, again, trying to learn the tones in Mandarin. Younger children pick it up very, very quickly because those are not high sensitivity. They're not high complexity sounds to make. Tones are simply, it's easy for the vocal cords to do that. However, in listening for those different kinds of vowel sounds, those nuances in English, there's so many other children aren't speaking really well and catching on to that until 7 or 8 years old. In, American kids. That way, let yourself make the mistake and let others people help you. One of the things, if we relax when other people are trying to help us, all of a sudden our brain all eases up and says, oh, okay. Look at that, their offering of how to say it as an exciting little piece of adventure, a little nugget of gold that they're giving you. And you want to read it back so you can, or say it back to them, say, help me to pronounce this right. I want to polish this like you polish gold. And say, this is a little nugget of gold you've given me. You've given me a priceless little piece here. I want to polish it. Help me. When we ask those people who are correcting us, they are more gentle with us. They are more patient with us, and we relax until we get the sound right.
Yeah, and you mentioned that. I remember a nice lady. Her name is Barbara from Toastmaster here in DFW. And when I was competing for a speech contest, and she came to my house and asked me to play the video recording of my contest speech. And she closed her eye without looking at the screen. So she was listening to the words, how I say that, make sure I said everything correctly. That's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Right. So I think if we work in that intense, have people like a Barbara so are kind and generous to help you, you are going to get better. I think a mistake like this, you saw one and you lost one mistake. So you are better yourself every day. That's the attitude. You probably cannot be perfect, erase all those possible mistakes, because like you said, English is a mud, language, right? But if we just, learn one word at a time, eventually in 20 years, 5 years, and 2 years, you will be a better speaker with everything, improved.
Right, right. Fail your way to success.
Yes, yes. Hi, Phyllis.
Yes.
Those difficult words are really challenging to me. And would you mind to give myself and my listeners and audience some takeaway points, so we can work on how to improve ourselves by overcoming the challenges of those difficult words?
So with the difficult words, one of the things that we want to remember is the power of pause.
Again, right?
When we listen to the word and listen to the word, if we have that difficult word we have to come up to, utilize pauses to give your mouth the time to reset, to say that word. The other segment of it is when we've had, before this, when we've had the opportunity to review and do text to speech and listen to that and play back and record them and listen to them side by side. As we listen to those, we will become better. Okay. Secondly, what we want to do is have somebody help us with the pronunciation. If we haven't, text to speech usually is kind of fast. If we have somebody within our Toastmasters group, a trusted friend that helps us with our presentations, then we can have them and say, listen, I want you to point out the words I'm saying well. That's a little different than what most people want to do. They want to point out what you're saying wrong.
Yeah. Human tendency.
Go through my script, print out the script for them, go through my script and highlight all those words I'm saying well. And then what happens is the words that aren't being said well, they're not highlighted. Those will stick out. And yet we won't get that negative feeling from it. Then we do text to speech for that one.
Yeah. We got to have a thick skin in learning, right? Humble yourself, asking for feedback. And in my book, I also asking for your teenagers to help you. They know how to say that right. But typically they are not a patient teacher. It's better to ask your friends than your own kids.
Right. And well, the other thing is, as you said, having people help you, every mistake is an opportunity to learn. Every mistake is an adventure in learning. Think of every mistake that you make is an aha moment. You're a scientist discovering some novel way of doing something. Oh, wow, this is why it blew up before. This is good, this is exciting. Change your mindset. It is an exciting possibility to get this right. And then my favorite thing to do is when people are willing to point out your mistakes, say, stand with me here a minute. Let's go over this. Let's go over this again. I want you to give me some more feedback. They go from being this critical person to a coach that wants to see you win.
It's like we have to change our attitude before we influence others to help us, right? Because like you said, people have a heart, have their hearts to help others. But if you become, defensive, or, you just lost your self-confidence, they will be scared. Oh, maybe not to say anything to this person, right? But by the end, you are not doing yourself a favor. So I really agree with that.